Welcome to Talkin About Sports, the Carolina's #1 podcast. We're #1 because you make us #1. I'm your host, Kevin Casey, along with Reggie Walker, Mountaineer Mike Freer, JT John Tobias, Offset, our executive producer, Kevin Tolbert, our official program observer, William Wilson. So, guys, news this week, Reggie, Panthers GM Dave Gettleman being eyed by the New York Giants. As someone in the NFC East, I think that's good news for the Giants, bad news for the rest of the league, because I think Dave Gettleman did nothing but produce positive results for Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hire that, we know. One thing we do know, and Freer, you and I were just talking about this, is he'll make those tough decisions on everybody, and we know what the main reason was. Essentially, at least the discussion was that he's not in Charlotte anymore, is the way he dealt with some of those veteran players. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in New York if he gets that job moving forward.
Yeah, the person who gets the job with the Giants is going to have to make a tough decision on Eli Manning, and Gettleman obviously has the track record. He doesn't mind making the tough decisions on veterans.
And Odell Beckham, too, to be honest.
Yeah, that could be.
You got to decide.
I'd be stunned if he went anywhere. They'll pony up for him.
Agreed.
But he's friends with Ernie Accorsi, and I mean personally, Ernie Accorsi is one of the finest football minds of my generation. So that's a pretty good recommendation. If he's got the ear of John Mara, Accorsi does. So I mean, it seems like it's all systems go for him ending up with the Giants, which I think is a good move. I agree.
Right. I think you guys said it best to where in terms of there was never really an issue. I never really heard a lot of people talk about in terms of the way Gettleman drafted during his stay with the Panthers, but it was an issue more or less in terms of like what you guys alluded to, like how he treated people. You remember like what Steve Smith, what he tweeted about, what D'Angelo Williams tweeted about. But I think actually this is like a pretty plumb position with the Giants. Yes, there's a lot of pressure, but at the same time, you could have the second or third pick in the draft. Your defense is solid. You need to go ahead and draft a running back as well, and maybe get one in free agency. I still think that this is still one of the most storied franchises in the NFL, without a question.
They're familiar with him. He has a long history. He worked there for years before he came down here, so they're familiar with him. It seems like a good fit for what the Giants need and the decisions they're going to have to make, both with their veterans and with the draft. They're going to have a high draft pick, and that's going to be a big deal.
Well, one thing's for sure, I think he's going to draft hog mollies, his favorite term. The players will not run the franchise there as they seemingly did in Carolina. Thomas Davis and Greg Olson, who I guess complained about not getting extensions, went to the owner and got their wish. They got Gettleman out, much to the, applause of Steve Smith and D'Angelo Williams. Reggie, Panthers, state of the Panthers, I think they're a lesser team without Dave Gettleman, but Marty Herney seems to be doing well so far. He may not be the interim GM. He may be the permanent GM if he wants it. And what do you think of the team overall, and maybe are they poised to make a run to the Super Bowl?
Listen, I think they got pretty much as good a shot as anybody, especially with the recent injury to Carson Wentz. I'll say it like this, and it's something I tweeted the other day. Going into this week in the NFL, there are 9 teams in each conference that have a legitimate shot still to make the playoffs. The Panthers are sitting in basically the 5 spot in the NFC. That tells me that's a pretty good football team, and they're in good shape. Look, at the end of the day, it's about getting to the second season. People can get caught up in whether somebody's 15-1 or 10-6 all they want. At the end of the day, the Panthers still have a chance to win the NFC South and host a playoff game, and they've got just as good a chance as really pretty much anybody else in the NFC. At this point, I don't see a completely dominant team. Again, with the recent injury to Carson Wentz, I don't see a dominant team in the NFC. So I think the Panthers got as good a shot as anybody in the NFC.
I agree. I think we talked about last week what a big game the Vikings game was going to be, how it's set up for the rest of their season, and they played like it was a big game, and they performed like it was a big game. I agree. I think there is good a team as any, good a chance as any to make it to the Super Bowl out of the NFC East. They're playing better at the right time. Their running game is the best in the league now over the last 6 weeks or so. That's very Panther-like football. Their defense has been solid all year. And a big thing in the Vikings game, they forced turnovers and they kept theirs to a minimum. So they're winning the turnover battle.
Absolutely. Like, in my opinion, I think that Vikings victory was just as big as the victory over the Patriots early in the season. I mean, the Vikings are considered one of the best teams in the NFC. That was the first time all year that they allow a 100-yard rusher all season. So I think that speaks volumes, and I definitely think they have a good chance, just like Reg was alluding to, just a chance of anyone to really doing some damage in the NFC without question.
One thing, JT, you bring up a good point, as you do often on many topics, but I was on CBS Sports Radio after the game. I do work for them in-game as well, pre-game and in-game. Rich Ackerman, their host, said, why was this such a big game? I pointed to the Patriot game. Mm-hmm. This is a statement game. Mm-hmm. I think, to maybe add on to what Reggie is saying, I think the Panthers don't just have a shot, as good a shot as anyone else. Two things. If you're in the playoffs, you got a shot to win. I think Carolina has a better shot than most teams in the NFC and in the AFC of winning the Super Bowl. I think combining a strong defense with what seemed to be, at least last week, a solid running game, ball control, time of possession, total plays, total first downs, I think that sets up well for the Carolina Panthers.
I think it was a big game. The other piece of the reason why I thought it was such a big game, honestly, was because they lost to the Saints the previous week. And the reason why I say that is because if you feel like you're going to make the playoffs as the Panthers organization, you've got to have a level of confidence against other playoff teams. So to get a chance to play Minnesota in the regular season and beat that football team, it gives you a level of confidence that you can play with them in a playoff environment, even though it's probably, chances are, going to be on the road.
Well, I think maybe it could be Carolina needs help. They need Atlanta to beat. Carolina, first of all, has to win out. They have to have Atlanta beat the Saints one more time. Mm-hmm. That would give them the division. I think it really helps them. They're going to get the playoffs. But to go far in the playoffs, they have to win their division, get a home game. And I guess with Reggie saying 18 teams have a chance, I guess the Redskins have no shot right now. So, okay, we'll live with that. Segment 2, we're coming up with more Panther Talk. Plus, later on in the show, we've got bold predictions. Some will be bold, some will just be bold. Okay, talking about sports right here from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill coming up next. We here at Talking About Sports want to send a special acknowledgement to all the people, the first responders, and all the citizenry that's been affected by the wildfires out in California and the West Coast. We definitely are thinking about you, and we wish you best from all the gang here at Talking About Sports. Welcome back to Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. We're going to try to get as much in as we can. JT, I just getting information. You got to catch a flight. You're going to span the globe like Jim McKay. You're going to Orlando for the Cure Bowl. I've never heard of that. Is that like a celebration
I know
bowl?
It's not like it's a citrus bowl. I guess it means I'm like at the bottom of the
There's
totem
tangerine
pole.
bowls. Right?
Yes. Well, tangerine bowl is gone now.
Oh.
Right. But this is the Cure Bowl. It's going to be Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers against Arkansas State.
It's going to be some points scored in that one.
There you go.
Former Sun Belt teams. I love it.
Take the over.
Always do.
Going back to the Carolina Panthers, good news, bad news. They're playing Sunday. The game isn't flexed. The bad news is for Green Bay, or if you're good news for Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers has been medically cleared to play. I think that adds a lot of intrigue and maybe a lot of, I think it lowers the line. It makes it closer to a pick'em or a Carolina 3 type situation. With Aaron Rodgers on the field, Green Bay's got a shot, Reggie. What do you think?
Yeah, listen, anytime this guy's in the lineup, it's amazing how we refer to players, right? And when you think about a guy like Aaron Rodgers, when you talk about late season in the playoffs, you don't refer to him as Aaron Rodgers anymore. You refer to him as 12. And anytime 12, right? Anytime 12 is on the football field, the Packers have a chance. He does so many things, and we often talk about the physical arm talent, making certain throws. We get all that. It's the little things he does, understanding when he's got a shot at a free play, understanding, how to move around the pocket and pick up that extra couple of yards to pick up a first down to keep a drive alive in a certain situation. He understands how to handle late game, late clock situational football. Those are the types of things that he does so well. And we could talk about arm talent all day, and Mike McCarthy, as we all know, is one of the better play callers in the NFL.
It's going to be a really tough challenge for the Panthers. Aaron Rodgers is going to be ready to go. He's missed so much time. He's going to really want to show it off against a really good defense. And with that secondary, I mean, they're susceptible. Carolina is in the secondary, I think, even though they have my man Daryl Worley.
Daryl Worley with 9 tackles and an interception. I think Daryl Worley is playing very good ball, and James Bradbury. I think secondary is a strength.
I said it earlier in the year. Calm down, be patient with DBs. People were panicking. I told y'all to wait.
This is going to be a test. It's going to be a huge test for them with Aaron Rodgers ready to go. And again, just like with Minnesota, if they can come away with a win here, that gets you to 10 wins, and you got Tampa Bay and Atlanta coming up after that. I mean, they're in real good position to host a game.
JT, I think when he say 12 to me, I go with a guy with 5 rings, not with a guy with 1 ring.
That's what
I'm saying. Tom
no
Brady.
Shade to Reggie.
I'm not going to go with a guy named 12. I'm going to go with a guy who just goes as Brady.
Right.
Now he doesn't.
That's the first thing I thought of.
His bunch has 5 Super Bowl rings,
Right.
and they're up in New England. I like Brady as the 12 for me. I mean, but I think right now, Carolina beat Brady. Can they beat Rodgers?
Oh, I think so, without question. I mean, because even though he's fresh, but at the same time he's rusty. I think the thing about it is, though,
He's rested.
Yes,
He's fresh.
rested and rusty. But I kind of flip it on the opposite end, because I know this segment is like Panther top heavy. As a Packer fan, would you be a little nervous? Because let's say, for example, if the Packers play and they lose, would you want to play Rodgers the last 2 games of the year? Because they're going to have to win out.
You play him until you're out of it.
They're going to have to get some help.
Yeah.
You play him until you're out of it, unless he's absolutely 100%, and then you play him. Because the one thing about this league is you're always trying to win football games. So I would venture to say this: if they were eliminated from the playoff race at this point, we would not see Aaron Rodgers back on the field this season as a starter. I think what they would do is go ahead and let Hundley get the reps, get the experience, so that if there's any issue with Aaron Rodgers moving forward in subsequent seasons, they have a guy that they know can go in a football game and has played a lot of snaps.
Hundley had a good weekend last week there. They came from 21-7 down and beat Cleveland in overtime to really keep their season alive. So he's
improved.
He's picked it up
Yeah.
after the initial growing pains of being a starter, and
that's what happens.
Everything is really fast, I'm sure, and
right.
And he's starting to win games. And yes, I think if for Packer fans, you're hoping the momentum off this recent play, you get Aaron Rodgers back in, and they absolutely have a chance to win down here. It's not impossible, but they're catching the Panthers team that's really on fire.
And let's face facts. After what they did at the end of the season last year, you think that fan base doesn't feel like that can happen again?
Absolutely.
That fan base is rejuvenated with the thought that Aaron Rodgers is able to come back and they still got a shot to make the playoffs. They really believe as a fan base and as an organization that they can win the last 3 games.
Real quick, down the line, I need very quick predictions. Carolina, Green Bay. Reggie, let's hear what you got.
Been a tough stretch for the Panthers. Coming off of the Saints and Minnesota. I think it's going to be a dogfight. I think the Packers will give them everything they want. I'll take the Panthers by a field goal late.
I think the Panthers win by 2 touchdowns. I think they're going to score on Green Bay, and I think Aaron Rodgers is going to put up some points. I just don't think it's going to be nearly enough.
Panthers 27-21. Boom.
There you go. Not only does he give you a prediction, he gives you the score, and he keeps it quick. So I like Hundley, by the way. He likes bow hunting. So I definitely like anybody who hunts and fishes. No word if he's going to Arkansas squirrel hunting. We don't know that yet. But we got college, and as we see our floor director, William Wilson, who is the most notable Arkansas guy that I know. I don't know John Daly like he does. They're best friends. But he's the most notable Arkansas Razorback that I know. So thanks to William Wilson for #1 being here. And $2.95 suits at William Wilson Clothing right off the rack and can be fitted for you.
Trying to get one.
We need one, JT.
Yes.
All right, we got college bowl predictions coming up. Lots of college bowls to talk about. Plus the Hornets, they look dreadful right now, but they did make a good move. I like Steven Silas. We're coming back with more Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill right after this.
We're talking about sports on A&.
We're talking about sports at ADS. I don't know. trying to say that.
We're talking about
sports in, oh God, I forgot.
ADSN.
What is it?
ADSN.
ADSN, okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about sports.
Talking about sports.
We're talking about sports.
Talking sports. Talking about sports. We're talking about sports on ADSN.
Talking about sports on ADSN.
Welcome back to Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill.
I'm hungry.
Along with the hungry Reggie Walker, Mountaineer, Worldbee, Mike Freer, and John Tobias, JT, our floor
Ready to
director.
get my eat on.
William Wilson off camera, and our executive producer, Kevin Tolbert, right here. College bowls and college hardware. Bowling. Baker Mayfield wins the Heisman. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. I think he's going to be good at the next level. If I'm a Redskins fan, I would try to move up and maybe get this guy. Plus, we've got area teams involved in some bowls. The Outback Bowl, you can't have an Outback Bowl without Bloomin' Onions or South Carolina. The Belk Bowl right here, Frank K. and the great people over at Raycom talking about the Wake Forest, the Texas A&M, Gig'em Aggies, by the way. Sun Bowl, NC State, Arizona State. The Quick Lane Bowl, Duke and Northern Illinois. And JT's going to be at the, what do you call it? The Cure Bowl?
Yeah, I'll be at the Belk Bowl, too.
Oh, well, I'll be there.
All right.
We're good.
We'll
And
hang out.
And the Air Force Reserve Celebration Bowl with, I believe that's Grambling and North Carolina A&T.
Okay.
Home of Tariq Cohen.
Aggie pride.
JT, what do you think about Baker Mayfield winning the Heisman and some of the bowls? How they hit you?
What I'm going to say isn't very popular. Baker Mayfield deserved to win the Heisman.
Right.
He has had a very prolific
He
year.
wasn't my pick, but I don't think Lamar Jackson did anything to lose it, by the way.
Right,
That's
his
my-
numbers only got better, but you have to look at wins and losses at the end of the day compared to Oklahoma. And then, but also,
ridiculous.
I'm not a huge. Now, you know what? Now, I heard you make a comment before a couple episodes
He makes
ago
lots of them.
about Tebow because you had said that he won the Heisman.
He won the Heisman
and he
with
had-
3 losses in the regular season, and then they lost the bowl.
Yeah, but Lamar Jackson, he has 4 losses. I mean, like at the end of the day, they
I'm
have
not
to count for
arguing. Well,
something.
here's my point. My point in saying that is
Oh, you did wave it.
Tebow should have won it that year. He had 50 touchdowns.
Right.
Lamar Jackson, if you watch him play, he wasn't a problem.
But at the end of the day,
And his
wins and
numbers
losses
are better
they
this year
have
than
to
they
count.
were last year.
Right. But at the end of the day, wins and losses, they have to count for something. They have to.
I can
They
see
have
that
to.
if you lose 6,
Yeah, I
or
agree.
if you're a 500 or worse team, I get that.
Paul Horning was, what were they,
8-4?
2-10, and Paul Horning?
What do you think, Mike? Do you think you agree with Reg, or you agree with me?
I'm a Baker
Not the
Mayfield
pick
guy.
against us.
I'm
Okay.
a Mayfield not guy. I think his antics tired me out real quick. On the field, his numbers were just you couldn't overlook them. I don't think.
I thought Baker Mayfield was the most consistent guy on a really good football team. Because if you look at even his numbers, they're not much of a departure from what last year he did.
41. No, they're not. They're not. You're right. 41 touchdown passes this year, 5 interceptions. That's absurd.
That is phenomenal.
He averages
that
an
is
interception
phenomenal.
every 73 passes.
Right. Now, that being said, what I was going to say is that he deserved to win the Heisman, but I am not a Baker Mayfield fan because of the very same thing that you said. I get tired of the antics. And he does kind of remind me, Kev, of Johnny Manziel, to where I don't think on the next level that he is going to be as good as what some people may project.
We haven't heard of as many shenanigans off field with Mayfield as we have with Manziel. And look, Mayfield has got a look too. But by the way, Johnny Manziel met with the commissioner of the Canadian Football League, by the way. But he's seen a guy like Manziel basically blow it and spend too much money on like hanging out with people like Ric Flair, but spending more money on spilled drinks, limousines, and jets than he has but watching film and worrying about his brand. Like RG3 couldn't watch film on defenses, more worried about his brand. I can say that. It's strong because I'm a Redskins fan. He threw our franchise back decades,
I think
just like Heath Schuler did.
He was Rick of the Year.
I think as a prospect, there's no comparison.
What's he done
between
since? He's done. Where is he now? Is he on a roster,
and
JT?
His own first take
Baker
the other day.
Mayfield.
He apparently turned down the Cardinals and Ravens, I think, because they said you're on the practice squad. So if they had a G League in football, he'd be there. Mike, I think you're partial to Baker Mayfield because you're a Big 12 guy, being a West Virginia fan. So,
I see him a lot.
Well, but let me defend Mike here a little bit. I'm not suggesting that Baker Mayfield didn't earn the Heisman. I'm simply saying that the criteria continues to move every year. And this was clearly one of those years to where, we know who finished second. It was Lamar Jackson. And he wasn't going to get the votes because a lot of people had, quote, voters' remorse from the way he finished last season. I get that.
I don't think anybody wants to see a two-time winner again.
Well, that may be true, too. But if you watch the way that young man played in fourth quarters, despite the I got to watch my words here. Despite how terrible that defense was, if you look at the BC game, they were down 21 going in the fourth quarter. When he got done on 3 possessions in the fourth quarter, it was a tie football game. That kid is unbelievably electric. I hope he stays for another year, because if not, his NFL career may be pretty short.
It's not an indictment of Lamar Jackson at all.
Right.
That Baker Mayfield won. I think, and if people want to say Lamar Jackson deserved to win it, I'm not going to sit here and say you're crazy. You're out of your mind. The numbers for Baker Mayfield having the best. He played on the team with the best offense, and he was the reason they were the best offense. He threw about 370 passes this year, 5 interceptions, and he threw the ball deep. He averaged almost 12 yards per attempt. That led the nation, and still 5 interceptions.
Totally agree.
It's unbelievable. And by the way,
he deserved to win.
We're at the University of Texas. How are you feeling right now when he goes through the high school ranks and you had a shot at him and nobody offered him, no Power 5 school offered him a scholarship? And then you walk on at Texas Tech, you get through a starter spot, and at the end of the year, you still don't offer him a scholarship.
I think that's why the coaches at Texas and Texas A&M,
Absolutely.
and most of them have been fired since he came through, because the Texas coach is gone.
Well, I'm
going to
defend.
Patterson's still there at TCU, as far as I'm
going to defend Kevin Sumlin a little bit, because
I like Kevin Sumlin.
He got Kyler Murray
right now.
He got Kyler Murray, who was supposed to be the guy in Texas. So he got guys.
Texas A&M
they just didn't work.
Excuse. I want to know what Texas is.
Texas doesn't have an excuse.
There you go.
They don't have an excuse, and guess what? Hey, the Messiah, Tom Herman, 6-6. Have fun with that.
Well,
yeah, I said it.
I'm not. I think Kevin Sumlin's a good football coach, not just because he recruited my son at the University of Houston, but I do like him. I think he should be a coach. There was rumblings that Central Florida was looking at him. I think he would have been a great hire at Tennessee, and I think maybe a year out, people will get back with more love with Kevin Sumlin. Guys, what about the bowls? Reggie, what about Outback? Give me predictions from some of these bowls we have. The Outback Bowl, Michigan, South Carolina, Belk Bowl, Sun Bowl, Quick Lane Bowl, and all that. Give me some predictions here.
Let me say one thing first. For the first time, I think we've proven Steve Spurrier wrong. Remember he used to always say you can't spell citrus without UT? I think they did this time.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well,
I think so too.
You can't have an Outback Bowl without South Carolina.
About these bowl games, I think there's some really good matchups this year. Some compelling things. The only thing that frustrates me when you think about the Belk Bowl is A&M's got a coaching change, so we're not going to see them whole, right? When you think about Arizona State, coaching change, not going to see them.
Who's going to be coaching these guys?
That's my point, and that's going to be the frustrating part. Who's making the play calls? Who's making the decisions? It's going to be interesting, but I actually think South Carolina will beat Michigan in the Outback Bowl.
How are they going to move the ball?
You're right. How they're going to move the ball is a question, but at the same time, Michigan can't move the ball either. So I think South Carolina wins the game 6-4 with a late safety.
Good thing the over-under is 7.
The over-under is 7. There you go, Freer. We got them.
I like Wake Forest in this Belk Bowl here. Texas A&M gets the rep for their offense and high-scoring thing. Wake Forest, 3rd in the ACC in total offense this year. Clawson has really turned that program around after back-to-back 3-win seasons. He's got them to back-to-back 7-win seasons. Only one other Wake Forest coach has ever done that, Jim Grobe. That's pretty good company.
I'm
Very
surprised,
good coach,
Mike, that he did not get a hard look in terms of like one of these new coaching jobs, in terms of like vacancies. Just like how you said, how he pretty much, has really turned that program around.
He's turned it around. I don't know if I'm another program, if I'm ready to give him the keys yet. It's still a 7-win team. If they lose the bowl game, it'd be back-to-back 7-6 season.
Right.
Very good for Wake Forest as a turnaround from where they were.
Yeah.
And he's definitely got them improved. It depends on the program, obviously. You don't know.
You win 7 games at Wake Forest, they'll build a statue out front.
Well, and it's a different mindset, too, because that's a program to where, to your point, you start thinking about some bigger jobs. Those are not jobs where you have time to develop players. Wake Forest is a place where you can be a developmental program, redshirt some guys, those types of things. There are other programs out there. So a lot of the jobs that were open this offseason, Those are not developmental programs. They expect guys to come in, play right away, and win big every year consistently.
You want the bigger job. The price tag gets bigger, but so does the
You
responsibilities
get paid
and
for the headache.
expectations.
Absolutely right. You get paid for the headache.
Yep.
The one thing I will say is this: in terms of all of the teams that we mentioned, with the exception of Duke, all of these Carolina teams, they have pretty much overachieved and exceeded expectations. I don't think that a lot of people thought that South Carolina would be as good as how they were. Same for Wake Forest for sure. Definitely NC State, heading into the season, Dave Norman was on the hot seat. He was considered the one ACC coach that was on the hot seat. And there he was, battling against, having big games against Clemson and Notre Dame.
Yep.
So I think that really speaks volumes. The only team that it seemed like they may have regressed slightly, was Duke. But I just definitely think it's good signs in terms of good teams in the Carolinas that we still have them and they're going strong.
I'm with Reggie. I like some of these bowl matchups, especially for the local teams. I think Michigan, South Carolina is going to be a tough battle. It's going to be a really close game. It could be 6-4. I don't see how.
What about the Celebration Bowl, JT? Who you like?
Well, of course, I'm going to be a homer, and
I like A&T, by the way.
And I'm going to say A&T. But the thing about it is to put it in bigger perspective. And
Although I am going against Grambling, and I love Grambling because Doug Williams played there.
And I would love to get Mike and Reg take on this. Is that there are a lot of quality HBCU players that are in the NFL heading into opening day rosters. Beginning of NFL season, 32.
There's going to be scouts at the Celebration Bowl.
32 HBCU players were on opening day rosters. And arguably, when you look at the wide receiver position, Jerry Rice, arguably the greatest wide receiver ever, HBCU. Running back Walter Payton, HBCU. Tight end Shannon Sharp, Savannah State. I just think that it speaks volumes to where, and like you said, scouts, there's a lot of talent at these
players
HBCU
in that
schools.
game in the Celebration Bowl that are going to be in the NFL next year.
That speaks volumes.
beauty-
I just think that's a fact.
Right.
The beauty of the era that we live in, with television, with everything going around, if you have talent, you'll be spotted, and it doesn't matter where you play. You may not get on TV as much as other programs.
More importantly,
but
JT,
you will
who
be spotted. There are
who
enough
wins the
posters
Battle of the
for both
Bands
teams.
at the halftime?
Oh, I may get run out of here. I may have to say Grambling.
Say that one more time.
I may have to say Grambling
What?
in terms of the Battle
Battle
of the Bands. That was the question.
Oh, that's fair. That's
Yeah, I mean, Grambling's strong. And strong.
This may get me run out of everywhere, but I'm going to say it anyway. I understand the premise of the Celebration Bowl. I get it. But they need to put something in that contract. You have two football teams that are in the FCS top 12, and they're not in the playoffs. To me, and I understand the premise and what they're trying to do, but I think that's a missed opportunity.
You want to
for
see
the
him play
culture
James
and
Madison
and
in
the
that
quality
group.
of football of HBCU, because I would argue that North Carolina A&T would probably have gotten a bye, and at the very least, if they didn't get a bye and a home game, they would have definitely got a home game.
You can ask University of Charlotte there how North Carolina A&T is.
How about that?
I mean, would you say, James Madison, defending champs, but you got teams like Sam Houston State, Eastern Illinois, Eastern Washington, some of those teams. I think A&T could definitely be in there and probably win a couple games. Might even get very far. Could even win
number 7 in the country.
That's what I'm saying. I think they're a good ball club.
Yep.
And I like Reggie's point because I was thinking the same thing. Why doesn't A&T just say, the Celebration Bowl's fine, we're getting paid. But how about we want to go for the national title? How about that?
Yep, Broadway's a great coach. Actually, he has a UNC. I'm sorry, Reg. He has UNC pedigree, and he's definitely, turned that program around because at one time, several years ago, they were not doing well at all. But he is definitely, turned into a very, very, very formidable head coach for sure.
By the way, a couple of really good quarterbacks in this game for both teams. The former Ole Miss Kincaid for Grambling was great, and Lamar Renard, yes, the MEAC Player of the Year on offense, had a great year. He put up some really good numbers. It's good. I would definitely recommend watching this game. It's going to be a real good showcase.
Yeah, let's think about this. I'm kind of cheating off first paper here, but Grambling leads the FCS in sacks. That's a pass rush that I would have loved to see in the playoffs against some of these high-powered offenses in the FCS. So, again, I think this game is going to be a good game. I know I'm going to watch it. You'll probably see me tweeting about it. Check my Twitter, by the way. I'm not going to put it out there, but check my Twitter.
Well, go ahead, give it out, Reggie. We want to see it.
It's RWalk, RWALK 13, RWalk 13. Let me know. I will be tweeting about this game. I'll be watching the game as well. But because I think it's going to be a good football game, want to make the point that these are two quality football teams at the FCS level that I think could have competed for a championship.
The greatest pass rusher to ever play professional football. How about South Carolina State's Deacon Jones? How about that?
Legend.
Yeah, absolute legend. Coach Broadway from Oakboro, North Carolina. Home, a buddy of mine shops over in Oakboro.
With all due respect to the Deacon, the Minister of Defense just rolled over in his grave.
Well, I don't care. If he, Deke said he had 20 sacks in the playoffs one year. So we like that. I like South Carolina. Go Gig 'em Aggies, but I think Wake's a complete team. If Herm Edwards comes into the locker room and says we play to win the game, I give advantage to Arizona State. You got to go with Duke, and I'm going with A&T. So we've got some Hornets to talk about. That's coming up next on Talk About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill.
This is where it gets.
Well, you better
Welcome back to Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. Breaking news from Highway 49, University City Boulevard, UNC Charlotte, in the infinite wisdom that is Athletic Director Judy Rose. Mark Price, head basketball coach of the Charlotte 49ers, has been relieved of his coaching duties. If they could only do that for football, they'd be in a lot better shape. But quickly, JT, you got to catch a flight. Mark Price getting dismissed as head basketball coach.
I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised at the timing because, guys, you know that this normally doesn't happen in terms of in the month of December.
Unless they've hired Bobby Lutz to come in right now, it's a bad move.
Right. So I'm surprised at the timing, but I'm not surprised in terms of it happening because overall 30-42. It was a surprise when Judy Rose hired him when Alan Major got let go because even though Price was an assistant, with the Hornets, he had never had any previous head coaching experience in terms of college or with the NBA. So it's not really a surprise at the end of the day.
Exactly. It's not a surprise. It's the timing of it that really stinks. There's not even have a chance to get into conference play to see what you can do there. The way they've been going lately was bad. It's four straight losses and not competitive in three of them really. Losing to Davidson, another local rival.
That's a good ball club, though.
Good.
Atlantic 10 ball club's a better conference than the conference they're in.
But that's where,
of course, they were in it and left it thanks to the infinite wisdom of Judy Rose.
Sounds like you don't like Judy Rose.
Well, she's a bad athlete. I mean, she's done a lot of good things for the university, including naming a building after herself. So you could be that red. JT, before we leave,
sure,
I want to get your take on the Hornets right now. To me, they don't look good, even though I like Steve Silas as a coach right now.
One of the best cliches, and I totally agree with, is that when you are in the NBA, either you need to be really good or you need to be really bad. You need to be really good for obvious reasons. You need to be really bad because you can end up getting right. So you can get there you go, Rich. So you can get a great draft pick. You do not want to be in the middle. The Hornets are bad right now. Fifth worst record in the NBA, but at the same time, there are two things, and I would love to get you all's take. Number one, you could very well get a great player in terms of someone like Marvin Bagley, for Duke. They could be in the running for that if they continue to do bad, and if they get him, there is a silver lining in terms of this season. We all know that Kemba Walker is a bona fide all-star, but how about the resurrection of Dwight Howard?
I've loved it.
He's playing a great year, having a great year.
To put in perspective, he has 15 double-doubles this year. He was in a 2004 NBA draft in terms of the number one player
pick. The contract.
Number one player pick 2005 draft, Andrew Bogut, not doing anything. 2006 number one player, Greg Oden, out of the league.
Not going to discuss that one.
Emeka Okafor, who was drafted right after,
he's trying to come back.
Dwight Howard, he's trying to make a comeback, but he's sitting on the sidelines. So the resurrection that he has made has been nothing short of remarkable. And I would love to get you all's take on that.
He gets it in my little report card here. Kemba and Dwight get the A's among key players for them. I put Jeremy Lamb and MKG with B's. I think MKG gets overlooked for what he does. And everybody else is really a C or D level. This team, outside of the Thunder, is the most disappointing team in the NBA this year.
I agree with that on the grades all on, but I got to give Jeremy Lamb an A. Not just because I went to college with his dad, but I think he's playing good ball.
He's playing good ball. He's tailed off a little bit.
Batum's stealing money. He's ineffective. And they have done nothing but regress since he's come
What about
back
Cody
into the
Zeller
lineup.
and Frank
Jeremy
Kaminsky?
Lamb was playing good ball when he was getting the more playing time. So I really like. And by the way, thanks to the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill for the Reggie's favorite steak nachos, wings. William Wilson loves those. I love those Wisconsin Bucky Badger beer cheese. KT, you're in the way. William Wilson wants to get some wings, I think.
I want to address something with the Hornets real quick because we just made a lot of good points there. Going into this season, I liked the Dwight Howard move. I thought it was a good move. And as far as I'm concerned, it's panned out. Riding with your grades, Freer, it's panned out. It's an A. My issue right now is this fan base. There were a lot of people that were clamoring before the season, late last season, saying we better finally spend some money. Well, they paid Batum. Probably wasn't the right guy, but they paid Batum. Then everybody was saying we want Malik Monk in the draft. That's the guy we better trade up for or fall.
Who else was a better squirrel hunter than Malik
They got
Monk?
that. And those are the two guys that haven't given them quite what they needed to really get them over the hump. And now you got people trying to bail on those decisions by the front office.
I like Monk,
And these are the
JT.
same fans that were saying make those decisions. Don't bail on this basketball program.
I like
Don't bail on
Monk,
this
although
franchise.
the guy from Duke, who was his name? What was the guy's name? The guy from last year. He's with
Jason Tatum?
No, the guy, the white guy.
Luke Kennard.
Luke Kennard. I thought if Malik Monk wasn't there, Kennard would have been the guy.
Two things about this team. Kemba Walker has absolutely no outside shooting support. There's none. There's nobody that can make a three or consistent outside shot. And Marvin Williams could be that guy because he's averaging career highs from three and field goal in general. He's not shooting the ball. He takes 7 shots a game. He needs to be 10, 13 shots a game the way he's playing this year.
Another guy stealing money, Marvin Williams, along with Nick Batum. But a big event here in Charlotte this weekend. Mike Pacheco and Mountaineer Mike World Be Freer was there, big for fantasy enthusiasts. Let's check out what was going on with the Carolina Millions.
Hey guys, World Be Freer here at All-American Pub in Uptown Charlotte. A wild scene here today as we're here with a fancy draft. Carolina Million final today. The winner gets $200,000. It's been a great event all day. Let's check out the scenes and the sounds from today's action.
This is our first large live final, so we're having an event here in Charlotte this weekend where we're giving away $1 million to 12 finalists.
I was entering the qualifier every single week as many times as I can. And finally on Thanksgiving, I had my lucky day and I made it here, so it's awesome.
We flew in 12 people, like I said, from all over the country, in Canada, San Francisco, Minnesota, put them up at the Ritz-Carlton.
It's been amazing. The basketball game, the Hornets game, Steve Cromwell, the whole fantasy draft crew, super hospitable, and it's been a great experience.
We had a suite right next to Michael Jordan. It was kind of crazy because at one point I was in Michael Jordan's way, so this bouncer was asking me to move and stuff. Kind of made my night.
I know that I would want my quarterback to be Tom Brady, because who doesn't? And then I would want the rest of my team to be Panthers players.
First place wins $200,000, fifth place wins $100,000, last 15, so it's a pretty good event. We have some excited folks here playing today. Daily Fantasy takes out some of the problems that people have with season long, being people get injured, you lose interest, you're not going to win your league. So with Daily, you can draft new team each week.
On Fantasy Draft, there's it's a much more casual atmosphere where you can be a casual player, have a great chance of winning, and you're going to be able to play, make more money on Fantasy Draft than other sites if you're just a regular guy.
You got a do-over every week. Season-long fantasy leagues, you're picking a team at the beginning of the year, and you have to ride that team all the way out. With Daily Fantasy, you get to start over every week.
Fantasy Draft is the site that puts players first. So we're a player-friendly site. We have lower rakes. We pay out deeper in our contests. So we have more flexible roster construction, so it makes it a little more fun to play and pick your players.
I think they have a great algorithm for the prices for the players. I think that sets them apart. And then their tournaments. I think they just have awesome tournaments.
If you've ever wondered what winning $200,000 looks like, you can ask Dave Newton here. He just won the FantasyDraft.com Carolina Millions, $200,000. 12 people entered today. He started out small time, and now he's big time. Tell me about this. How's it feeling? How did it happen?
It's kind of surreal right now. It hasn't really settled in, but started with satellite into the tournament. I'm a big believer in setting that lineup early and kind of setting and forgetting. And Fantasy Draft has been amazing. It's a newer site that I use, but I really, really enjoy it. They've been great this whole experience. It's kind of surreal, but it's fantastic. I couldn't ask for anything else.
All right, so there were 12 winners from 12 weekly contests. Everybody flew in here. You came in from San Francisco. Who did you bring with you?
I got my three brothers here, Jonathan, Derek, one of my best friends here, Josh, Byron. Flew the family in, originally all from New York. Made it a family affair for the weekend.
All right, so the big question is, what are you going to do with the money?
I don't know yet. Play a lot of fantasy draft tournaments, I guess. Yeah,
So it's just the beginning.
Just the beginning, absolutely.
All right, Dave, well, congratulations. What a great victory here today for you, and good luck in the future.
Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. And thank you to Fantasy Draft, Steve Cromballs. They've been amazing.
Yeah, these guys put on a great show. This was a fantastic event, and hopefully all of us here on Talking About Sports can get involved. Maybe we'll do our own league at some point. But, Dave, congratulations, and thanks for watching.
Mike, what was it? It came across to me as a lot of energy and a lot of buzz.
I was totally blown away by how they did things, that Daily Fantasy Draft Company. To fly a dozen people in from all over the country and take them to all the places they took them, and to have these guys there watching the games and the money they gave out for the prize. I was very impressed by the way the whole operation went. I didn't know what my expectations were coming in, but I didn't have any. I was very indifferent about it. I wanted to see what it was all about, and I was totally impressed by the time it was over.
Well, I'd like to see Talking About Sports have some involvement. Maybe we could maybe be like the Grand Marshals, JT.
There you go.
Have us be like the William Wilson, be like the commissioner. We could be like Grand Marshals, be like celebrity judges or something.
I just want to get in the door.
What? As we go down the line, final thoughts.
On Thursday, and maybe this is just me because this is closer to me. On Thursday, Larry Johnson, after
I wanted to ask you about
an article on Wednesday, he mentioned in an article that he felt like he was living with CTE, and he went through a lot of things that have gone on in his life, and mood swings and depression and a lot of different scenarios. And I can tell you, man, I know, and he admitted it in the article, and he will admit it anywhere. He did some things that he should not have done. He did some really bad things. It just scares you to think that there's that big of fear in himself. I mean, he said he doesn't think he's going to remember himself at 50 years old. He has said he has impulses to commit violence against anybody that is around, and that's just scary to hear.
What was it like to practice against that guy, Reg?
In practice, a really good football player, and I think a better guy than he allowed himself to be perceived as by his own mistakes.
All right, Mountaineer Mike, what do you got?
Yeah, just to continue on the Hornets real quick. The chemistry I've seen on that team this year is like anything else I've seen in the NBA, and I've watched a lot of it this year. So they love playing together, it looks like. They have a couple of all-stars in Kemba and Dwight. There's still a chance for them to salvage this season and get to the playoffs. They just need a little bit of help of shooting the ball better on the outside besides Kemba, who's playing hurt right now.
In terms of Charlotte 49ers basketball, I would hire a guy, you heard it here first, I would hire a guy by the name of Byron Dinkins. Byron Dinkins used to play.
I remember him.
Yes, Byron Dinkins is a Charlotte legend, played point guard, has his jersey retired. He's won a state championship at Northside Christian. Hire him, hire one of your own, and let's go ahead and try to get that robust feeling back with that particular organization.
That's going to do it for William Wilson, Kevin Tolbert, Reggie Walker, Mountaineer Mike Freer, JT John Tobias. I'm Kevin Casey. This has been Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill.
Shout out to Todd Withers, Queens University basketball. 1,000 points on Wednesday night.
Start a wrestling program.
In his career.
It's a wrap. Are you the only one that normally eats the pretzel?